Hi, everybody. All right. Phone, sit down. Okay, good. Right there. Why don't you put them right there? Yeah. You guys ready? All right. Good morning. As you, I'm sure all know, cyber-enabled and cryptocurrency investment fraud, known as pig butchering by the criminals, is among the fastest growing and the most financially devastating form of cybercrime that is targeting Americans today. As a result, President Trump has issued an executive order combating cybercrime, fraud, and predatory schemes against American citizens, establishing a clear whole-of-government strategy to confront cyber-enabled crime and transnational scam operations, bringing together law enforcement, intelligence, diplomatic, and financial tools. Building on that direction, I launched the Scam Center Strike Force in November of 2025, and it was the first of its kind in the nation. We are driving a coordinated campaign to disrupt as well as impose consequences on the transnational criminal organizations that run and are behind these schemes. Today, we announced significant milestones in that fight. We have charged Chinese bosses who ran a scam compound in Burma where thousands were trafficked, enslaved, beaten, and then forced to steal from Americans for years. We have seized also a Telegram channel, and that channel was luring workers into a forced compound in Cambodia. There they were ordered to pose as U.S. banks, as the New York City Police Department, to steal Americans' life savings. We have taken down more than 500 websites. They were used to steal Americans' life savings. My office is going to continue to work to identify the funds stolen. We have also restrained more than $700 million in cryptocurrency from U.S. victims of fraud. The administration of President Trump is lockstep in combating these scams, and we are just getting started. I am joined today by my colleagues in the criminal division of the Department of Justice, the FBI, the United States Secret Service, all founding partners in our Scam Center Strike Force. In addition, we're joined by interagency partners from the Department of Treasury as well as the Department of State, who are bringing their special resources to bear on this problem, and they are going to announce in a couple of minutes their own actions as they relate to this particular issue. But first, I want to take you into the investigation. It is November of 2025. We deploy the FBI to Thailand following the takedown of the notorious Chinese-run scam center known as the Shunda compound in Burma. Together with Thai authorities, reams of evidence were reviewed. More than 8,000 phones and 1,500 computers were seized, which established a hierarchical structure of these Chinese bosses running the compound that is targeting our American persons. That evidence, together with reports from victims here in the United States and information from individuals, led us to charging 2 Chinese defendants who are managers of the compound. It is significant that when the Shunda Burma compound was taken down, several of the Chinese national organized crime leaders immediately fled to Cambodia in an attempt to set up a new compound in Cambodia, showing how intertwined Burma and Cambodia are in these illegal operations targeting us. Now, the 2 Chinese nationals over here who ran the slave labor scam factory in Burma, where they trafficked and tortured people if they didn't deliver on fake cryptocurrency investments to steal Americans' life savings are Wang Xing Shan and Jiang Wenji. We look forward to prosecuting them in the United States. They are presently in Thailand on immigration charges, and yesterday I met with Thai officials to discuss our common efforts to fight this assault on American citizens. Now, compounds don't just target Americans. They also kidnap and torture people lured by Chinese criminals into fake jobs. They respond to ads thinking they're going to get a real job. And when they land in a country, they end up being trafficked to a scam center, some of them as large as cities. We have obtained a seizure warrant to shut down a Telegram channel that has 6,000 followers that was luring workers to Cambodia to work on scam jobs targeting Americans. We have served this warrant on Telegram, and we now call on Pavel Durov, arrested and indicted already in France for managing Telegram's platforms that enabled drug trafficking, fraud, and child pornography. We're calling on him to close this down. Now, I want to take a moment to thank some special partners in America who care about this enormous problem enough to make it a part of their own agenda. Specifically, I want to recognize JP Morgan Chase and Microsoft for doing parallel investigations with us on the network that is running this Telegram channel and taking down the accounts that are targeting Americans. Now, the workers, though, who responded to these jobs, they end up posing as banks, as police officers, as prosecutors. They sound like Americans, directing Americans to fork over their money or be prosecuted. They have backgrounds and backdrops where they actually look like they are from an official agency. Folks, this isn't abstract. It is hitting your neighbors, your friends, and your parents' retirement accounts. Some of these victims are so distraught that they end up taking their own lives. This is economic homicide. We have seized the sites and we are coming for the rest. These criminals thought they were untouchable because they were overseas. Today, we are proving them wrong, and we are just getting started. President Trump has launched a new theater of war against Chinese transnational organized crime. And now I'm going to introduce our partners. First is the Assistant Attorney General, Tyson Duva. You can go this way.
Thank you, Judge Pirro, and thank you for your leadership in this important effort. Anything that U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro is leading, the criminal division will partner and follow. So thank you for that. My name is Tyson Duva, the Assistant Attorney General for the criminal division here in the United States Department of Justice. And we are proud to partner with U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the Department of Homeland Security, other DOJ components, the State Department, and the Treasury Department in this Scam Center Strike Force, which is part of the Homeland Security Task Force National Coordination Center. And this is all spurred by President Trump's executive order, and we thank the president for that. American losses to cryptocurrency investment fraud continue to rise. The transnational criminal organizations running these operations, primarily in Southeast Asia, operate these industrial-sized compounds. And as U.S. Attorney Pirro said, they lure people there for promises of jobs and good work. And they basically turn this into slave labor. They take their passports and they make them scam Americans and our fellow citizens abroad. The Department of Justice and its federal law enforcement partners are more focused than ever in dismantling this effort. And we will work together and stop at nothing to do this. We have one of our best prosecutors as one of the lead on this task force. And he told me yesterday, he said, "This is my life's work. And you can be assured that we are going to give great effort and give great results. As criminal prosecutors in the criminal division here with DOJ, we have different components that are participating. We have our computer crime and intellectual property section, or CSIPs, the fraud section, the money laundering, narcotics, and forfeiture section, and of course, the Office of International Affairs. We're committed to seizing and forfeiting the funds stolen from American victims and returning them to their rightful owners. What we want is justice, and what we want are arrests and prosecutions, but what people want is their life savings back. And we're going to do everything that we can to give it to them. In this overall effort, as Ms. Pirro recognized, we work with private industry. That public-private partnership is extremely important. These scammers use your platforms, they use your operations, and it's unwitting to you. And like she mentioned with JP Morgan and Microsoft, when you partner with us and you partner with law enforcement, you make a difference for your customers and the American citizens. The criminal division's work with the Scam Center, Strike Force, and Homeland Security Task Force brings together multiple components, as I mentioned. The State Department, the Department of Homeland Security, Treasury, and we're all following President Trump's leadership to take down these scam centers and stop them from robbing Americans. I want to encourage anyone who has been a victim of cryptocurrency investment fraud. And what we've done so far in this operation is seize hundreds of millions of dollars through different investigations throughout Asia in cryptocurrency before it's changed to other types of currency. And that has been the leadership of CSIPs from the criminal division in this effort. If you are victimized or you know somebody who has, there are some outlets for you. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center can be found at www.ic3.gov. That's www.ic3.gov. Victims of these types of crimes are often reluctant to report to police. Reporting these crimes helps law enforcement connect incidents, people, and events together with the forensic evidence that we have to make cases. And it's critical. If you are 60 years or older, you can call the National Elder Fraud Hotline. And every U.S. Attorney's Office in every division or every district throughout the country has an elder fraud coordinator. And that national hotline is 1-833-FRAUD-11. That's 1-833-FRAUD-11. Speak up. It's helpful. It develops evidence and leads. This hotline will provide support to callers in reporting an elder fraud incident, including directing them to the right law enforcement agency. And it's available Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern in multiple languages. Reporting these incidents is the first step. Your reports will bring us those most responsible to justice, prevent others from becoming victims, and help us hold those accountable, as well as return the losses to our victims. And now I'd like to introduce the Deputy Director of the FBI.
Thank you, AAG Duva, and thank you, Judge Pirro, for having me here today. I'm Christopher Rea, the Co-Deputy Director of the FBI. We're here today to announce charges against several individuals for their roles in separate cases involving cryptocurrency investment fraud scams in Burma and Cambodia. Last year, you already heard it from the AAG, the Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3 as we call it, received more than 1 million complaints, with losses surpassing the 20 billion with a B billion mark. Investment-related fraud, once again, was the largest component of these losses. Cyber-enabled fraud was a component in almost 85% of all the losses reported. In response to the massive losses to cryptocurrency investment scams, the newly formed DOJ Scam Center Strike Force combines the power, reach, and resources of the U.S. Attorney's Office with the Department of Justice Criminal Division, the FBI, and the U.S. Secret Service to crack down and disrupt these schemes. The strike force is investigating the worst scam compounds, or call centers, as we call them, located in Southeast Asia. As was said previously by my colleagues, I want to highlight the exceptional partnership of the U.S. Attorney's Office under the leadership of U.S. Attorney Pirro, whose coordination and prosecutorial efforts have been vital in bringing these cases to justice. We are equally grateful to our partners at the U.S. Secret Service, whose leadership and investigative capabilities have strengthened this multi-agency effort. We also like to thank our partners at OFAC and the U.S. Department of State for their ongoing support and collaboration in this international effort. Special thanks goes to the outstanding FBI teams, special agents, forensic accountants, and analysts from several offices, including San Diego, Detroit, Miami, Boston, New York, Phoenix, Honolulu, Washington, Nashville, and Seattle, as well as I'd like to personally thank our legal attaché in Bangkok, Benjamin Virtue, who is with us here today, who is in attendance for this announcement. I want to thank Ben personally and his team for all the enormous amounts of work the last several months on this investigation. Most importantly, I want to recognize our international partners whose without their efforts and their help, this would have never been possible, including the Royal Thai Police and the Thai Anti-Cyber Scam Center Task Force for their crucial cooperation, which enabled a significant disruption of one of the most notorious cyber scam operations, the Shunda compound located in Burma. The scam compound trafficked individuals who were held against their will and used scam websites and mobile applications disguised as legitimate investment platforms to defraud victims, including many Americans. These criminals exploited trust and manipulated some of our most vulnerable population, the elderly, on a massive scale, but not anymore after today. As part of Operation Level Up, we are seizing over 500 domains linked to cryptocurrency fraud schemes. Operation Level Up, launched by the FBI and Secret Service, proactively identifies and notifies victims and has saved over 500 million and assisted more than 8,000 individuals. In coordination with the Secret Service and the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., we are also working to seize a Telegram channel that used false promises to recruit individuals to Cambodia, where they were forced to carry out a sophisticated law enforcement impersonation scam targeting victims, again, including many Americans. These fraudsters impersonated NYPD detectives and deceived victims into providing bank information and transferring funds through calls and messaging apps, with operations linked to a scam compound near the Thai border. The FBI remains committed to protecting Americans from fraud, holding perpetrators accountable, and leveraging partnerships, intelligence, and enforcement to safeguard the public. These joint actions represent a significant blow to transnational criminal organizations preying upon our own American citizens. We encourage the public to report online scams and other internet-enabled crimes to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or as was referenced earlier, IC3.gov. They can also contact the FBI directly by calling 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI, or submitting tips online at tips.fbi.gov, tips.fbi.gov. Reporting these incidents helps protect others and supports ongoing investigations. As I close, I have a message for our perpetrators overseas. Let today's charges be a warning to anyone operating outside or inside the U.S. who seek to take advantage of some of our most vulnerable citizens. The FBI's and DOJ's reach is far and broad, extending past our own borders. We will work tirelessly with our international partners to find you, disrupt your enterprise, and dismantle your networks so you can no longer target and harm our American citizens. I'd like now to turn the podium over to Chris Lamberg, Bureau of International and Law Enforcement Efforts from the Department of State. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, United States Attorney Pirro, for your leadership, and congratulations to you and all of our colleagues across the United States government who are working to implement the President's executive order and to protect our fellow citizens from these pernicious scams. Today, the Department of State, in support of the Department of Justice's Scam Center Strike Force, is announcing 2 rewards offers under the Transnational Organized Crime Rewards Program to disrupt cyber scam centers in Southeast Asia and hold accountable those who prey on Americans online. First, we are offering a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to the seizure or recovery of proceeds from fraud and money laundering schemes associated with the Tai Chang scam compounds in Burma. Cryptocurrency investment scam centers like Tai Chang generate billions of dollars in ill-gotten gains from victims across the United States and across the world. Last October, the U.S. government executed the largest forfeiture action in U.S. history, seizing approximately $15 billion in Bitcoin from scam compounds in Cambodia. And now we are seeking information to replicate that success and recover illicit proceeds from Tai Chang. If you have information, please send tips to the FBI as indicated on rewards posters that we will have available to the press and online. Second, we are offering a reward of up to $4 million for information leading to the arrest of Darren Lee, a fugitive who facilitated various cryptocurrency investment scams and through complex virtual currency money laundering schemes. So here we have the two rewards posters. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. So Darren Lee, a Chinese national, was arrested and indicted in 2024 in the United States, pleaded guilty and admitted to stealing $73.6 million in victim funds. But he fled the United States before sentencing. In February this year, he was sentenced in absentia to 20 years in prison. Darren Lee remains a fugitive. Please send your tips to the U.S. Secret Service using the contact information stated on the rewards poster. These schemes directly affect American families, draining them of their life savings, stealing the benefits of years of their work, and destroying lives, especially those of our elderly. The State Department, together with our partners, will continue to work to protect the American people from cybercrime, from fraud, and predatory schemes perpetrated by these insidious scam centers. But we need your help. Help us disrupt Tai Chang and return stolen funds to the victims. And help us find and bring Darren Lee, back to the United States to face justice and serve his sentence. So thank you. Now I would like to hand over to Jonathan Burke, Assistant Secretary for Terrorist Financing at the Department of the Treasury. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Judge Pirro, for your leadership and for inviting us to be here today. As Chris said, my name is Jonathan Burke. I'm the Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Terrorist Financing. And today, the Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, also known as OFAC, has sanctioned Cambodian Senator Kok An, who controls a network of compounds in his country that target Americans with digital asset scams. Additionally, today, OFAC has sanctioned 28 individuals and entities in Kok An's network, which includes casinos, resorts, and other buildings across Cambodia that have been converted into scam compounds. Kok An and his network of affiliates launder victims' funds and provide a base to both target U.S. citizens and traffic victims forced to work in scam centers with impunity. Zooming out, from offshore scam centers to child nutrition program schemes in Minnesota, Americans are losing potentially hundreds of billions of dollars to fraud. Under President Trump's leadership, Vice President Vance is leading the task force to eliminate fraud. Secretary Besson has also made clear that protecting Americans from fraud is a top priority for the Treasury Department. Scam centers in Southeast Asia are a persistent and growing problem for Americans. Since President Trump resumed office, in partnership with our interagency colleagues, Treasury has consistently targeted these scam centers with over 150 sanctions and warned financial institutions about the risks. Today's action underscores the United States whole-of-government commitment to targeting fraudsters and scam centers that steal billions of dollars from hardworking Americans, no matter where they operate or how well connected they are. Individuals or entities that continue to deal with Kok An, his conspirators, or businesses in this network, absent authorization from OFAC, should be on notice that they could be subject to sanctions or risk enforcement. And I'd like to highlight one last thing before I close. As Secretary Besson has said, Treasury will pay whistleblower rewards for actionable tips related to fraud, money laundering, and sanctions violations. And not to add additional websites to the list that I know has been provided, you can visit treasury.gov/whistleblower to learn more. Treasury is pleased to take today's action in tandem with our interagency partners as part of the Scam Center Strike Force initiative. We will continue to work collaboratively with our partners to deploy all available tools to disrupt scam centers at the highest levels. And now I will turn it over to the Assistant Director of Field Operations at Secret Service, Brent Daniels. Thank you.
Thank you to our partners gathered here today. I am Brent Daniels. I'm proud to serve as the Assistant Director of the Office of Field Operations for the United States Secret Service. The Scam Center Strike Force has been a collaborative effort since its formation. The Secret Service remains committed to its partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Department of Justice, the FBI, as well as the Departments of Treasury and State. Our common goal is to pursue the criminal networks that rely on our online and financial infrastructure to target American citizens. These crimes have serious consequences. A lifetime of retirement savings can be lost with a click of a mouse. A college savings account can be drained in seconds. More than 1 million people contacted the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center last year, up 17% from the previous year. This same report found that cyber-enabled crimes defrauded Americans of nearly $21 billion over the same one-year period. The Secret Service's victim reporting mechanism for investment fraud saw a 35% jump in just a few short months. Our commitment to restoring such losses is exemplified in the work of our Memphis field office, which recently seized $9 million from illicit crypto wallets. Special agents and analysts in Memphis identified 170 victims of the scam, resulting in over $19 million in losses before the Secret Service could step in. This was the first of many warrants expected out of our Memphis office, which has identified numerous similar schemes targeting a broad range of victims. The Secret Service and the Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control also worked side by side to sanction 30 individuals and entities associated with the Cambodian senator, Kok An. The senator and 5 of his associates used their political influence to operate scam centers throughout Cambodia. Victims of human trafficking were used to staff these operations under the threat of violence. Finally, I want to call attention to Operation Atlantic and Operation Level Up. Both efforts relied on strong partnerships among federal agencies, international law enforcement organizations, and private industry as well. We know that transnational criminal organizations intentionally commit crimes that cross geopolitical boundaries to avoid prosecution. Operation Atlantic brought US, UK, and Canadian government officials together to seize more than $5 million in proceeds from scams tied to Southeast Asia. Operation Level Up is a Secret Service and FBI team-up that set out to proactively identify and connect with victims in real time who are actively sending money overseas under false pretenses. Agents and analysts educate these contacts about the schemes to prevent further losses. This proactive approach has reached more than 5,000 victims and disrupted an estimated $161 million in preventable losses. None of this happens without the dedicated support of U.S. Attorney Bureau and everyone here today. The Secret Service will continue this mission, bringing criminals to justice, restitution to victims, and depriving our shared adversaries of the opportunity to target our citizens with impunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Can you elaborate on the roles of the two defendants and what the status of their extradition proceedings might be or filing rate?
Well, right now, as I indicated, these two are in Cambodia, and they are charged with immigration charges there. And of course, our interest is to bring him to the United States to face justice in American courts. And we appreciate the cooperation of any and all foreign law enforcement in these efforts. But right now, as I indicated, I met with Thai officials yesterday, and we are working and hoping that we'll be able to bring them here. We thought it important to identify these individuals to let other potential criminals know that we know who they are, that we are tracking them. And in their effort to cross into another country, they may be able to hide for a period of time, but we will get them sooner or later. Yes.
Why imitating New York police officers, and was there a concentration focus for the victims that they were going to?
You know, I don't have the answer to the question as to why NYPD, but you know, whether they were targeting New Yorkers or, you know, whether or not they thought just the identification of themselves as NYPD with backdrops indicating that they're from NYPD, and then saying that we're going to, you know, if you don't pay this money, you know, we're going to be able to prosecute you and I'm going to forward this case to the prosecutor. They are very sophisticated, and I'm sure they do their own, you know, demo, and they decide who they're going to target and what they're going to use as an effort to scam them, whether it's the old pig butchering romance attempt to, you know, get them to give over their money, or whether it's a threatening kind of effort.
Can I also ask, obviously you've been covering a lot more of these cyber crimes and scams
Yeah.
more recently. You can describe in detail of centers involvement in this investigation. What was the most startling or surprising thing that you discovered?
Well, I think, and certainly I can call on my partners to answer that question, but I think the most startling thing that we discovered was the fact that some of these compounds, and the Chunda compound is notorious, especially based upon who was running it, is that these are literally enslavements. These are as big, some of them as big as cities, where people are being brought, you know, as was indicated, they're losing their passports. There are all kinds of invasions into their own persona, and I'll kind of leave it at that, where they are threatened and they are, in some cases, tortured in order to get them to make more money as part of the crypto scam. This is very serious. It's the economic homicide to us, but this is also an enslavement. This is like reminiscent of hundreds of years ago. Yes, sir.
So if these people are coming to these centers and they're under threat, I'm curious how they're able to convince Americans that they're legitimately trying to do what they're doing.
Because they want to live.
What I'm trying to understand is if they have, you know, do they speak English? I mean, is this done via chats? Is this done via email? Or I think you mentioned that there was some kind of background that they were using, like for video.
It's done via chat. It's done online. It's done on all kinds of social media. There may be an image behind them to give them legitimacy. Whether or not they're actually using English speaking or trying to, yeah, they will hire people who sound like Americans. This is very sophisticated. They're making hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, and they are experts at it. They know what they need to do to make the money that they need to make. Yes, sir.
What's the plan for the 700 million you mentioned that's been restrained?
Yeah, the 700 million, and unfortunately, it takes a while to be able to identify the individuals that this money belongs to. It is a long and rigorous process to get that money into the hands of those victims that they belong to. It's not easy, but the money is now restrained. It can't go further into a blockchain where we lose it. It's just a question of time in terms of actually accessing it and getting it to victims. We're on it.
There was a mention that I guess 20 billion has been reported losses in calendar year 25. Do you know how much of that came from these scam centers in Taichung?
I don't know what percentages, and let me just say whatever was reported is underreported, because a lot of people are ashamed to even say that they've been scammed or conned. Some of them are professionals. Some of them are people who are not familiar with cryptocurrency, and they're like, gee, maybe I can get in on this. Maybe I'll be able to make some money on this. I don't know. Does anyone know a percentage? FBI?
7 billion of the 20 billion.
7, so it's a third. In general, a third. All right.
It sounds kind of like a James Bond movie. Are these actual casinos where they have people like working underground on the scam centers, or is casino a nickname?
You want to answer that?
Sure. So I think one of the interesting things, and you asked earlier, ma'am, about this that I find fascinating is just how organized and how developed and how modernized these scam centers are. I don't know who asked that question. I'm looking. Who asked that question? How organized these scam centers are. And so it's not somebody in the back of a trailer with a landline making calls. I mean, you have to understand these calls are hundreds of thousands of calls are being made per day. And so it's very organized. It's very sophisticated, much more than what you would think.
Yeah.
So they work out of these casinos? Or?
No,
Yeah, the casino.
Yeah,
That's where it started.
that's right. And I went the other way. Sorry, ma'am. So they hit under the guise of the casino. What our intel had showed before COVID happened, these were somewhat legitimate casinos, as legitimate as they can be. After that happened, and they were very structured. Some of these compounds, they look like a huge office building. After that, that is when they became more just straight fraud after that. So under the guise, now fraud.
But the idea of underground it's not necessarily underground. It's just it's rhetorical. I mean, it's an analogy that they're using.
You had a photograph up there showing all these cell phones.
Yes.
What were those?
They were taken from the Shunda compound. We've got 8,000 so far. And this just gives you an idea of the size of the operation. This started with Thai authorities going into Burma and being able to, with the help of a militia in Burma, because there's a lot of issues between the countries. This is just the beginning of what they're taking out of the compound. Again, to show you how much they're doing, how many people are working. These places are cities, essentially, where you have enslaved labor that's been trafficked, that's been conned themselves into going into, they think, a legitimate job, and they end up being enslaved.
Is there somebody that can explain something that could help people that might get these phone calls to understand that they're being scammed? Is there something you can help people who might be watching the story to say there's a light going off saying something's wrong here?
Well, first of all, if it sounds too good to be true, it is, number one. Number two, if you don't know about cryptocurrency, you're not going to learn it online from someone you don't know. Never invest.